So welcome everybody.
Welcome.
Hello.
So glad you're all here. I'm going to switch over to sharing my screen and open the PowerPoint presentation. There's a picture of me as a young entrepreneur.
No change.
I wish I was that cute still. And at every call, I'm going to start with this. This is a safe place. I'm going to encourage you to be vulnerable, to hold on, I got to manage like Jacob in. So this is a positive, supportive environment. There's no judgment. There's no criticism. I'm sure we've all had great successes and horrible failures. And, that's what life is about. What this group coaches is about is all of us supporting each other, forming a community. My coaching and my intention is to help you guys live the life of your dreams. So that's what we're here for. That's what it's all about. And I talked to an entrepreneur that I've indirectly coached because she's a good friend, and just asked me questions when I visit. She does architectural type work, and I said, what would be a good topic, during this whole pandemic time to really help entrepreneurs? And she said, there's just so much out of our control right now.
Yeah.
And how do we deal with that? How do we deal with it in reality, with our thoughts, with our actions? How do we deal with it psychologically? So, the best idea that came to me was the Serenity prayer. And again, this isn't anything religious. It's just, I say this almost every day, especially when I'm upset or frustrated. And I get something new out of it, not every day, but every few weeks I'm like, there's like an aha moment. And so grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Oftentimes we get frustrated or angry or upset about things that happen. And I've been taught that acceptance is a powerful step. It doesn't mean we agree or we like what happens, but then once we accept it and we know we can't change what happened, then we can, instead of being a victim, honor your feelings, negative feelings. They're valid. Our reactions are valid, but we don't have to hang on to them. We don't have to carry them around like baggage. So that's the next line, the courage to change the things I can. And the example I gave of the entrepreneur afraid of hiring someone and then losing them, and then turning that upside down into, okay, what can I do in the selection process, in the training process, in the marketing process for the job, so that I don't hire an entrepreneur type person, somebody that loves marketing and sales. You're going to lose those people. So that's an example of the courage to change the things we can. What are we doing? What can we do differently? What can we think differently? And that's what a lot of what this coaching is all about. And then the wisdom to know the difference. There's certain things that if we just stop worrying about it and we let it lie, then it'll take care of itself. So I'm going to talk later about prioritization, but this is just, when you find yourself in troubling times, hard times, this is a great tool. And the comic strip, if you can't read it, one character says to the other one, "Do you ever pray?" And the other guy answers, "Just the genius prayer." And he says, "What's that?" He says, "God,
Diesel.
grant me the courage to change the things I cannot accept, serenity to accept the things I've changed, and the wisdom to know I'm different." So that's a little twist on that. I thought that was really funny. So there's the serenity prayer, so give us tough things happen and give us the peace of mind to let it go, accept what happened. Again, it's really important to know that acceptance doesn't mean you agree with it. It doesn't mean you like it. It doesn't mean you're happy about it. But we get to choose our emotions. And then what can we do about it? And if we really can't do anything about it, you know, you can pray, you can wait. Sometimes just sleeping on it really helps. The other tools I want to mention in times like this is actually journaling. There's something really magical about writing and that hand brain tactile connection. So just journaling, what am I concerned about? What are my emotions? What am I feeling? How would I like to feel? Why did this happen? What can I do about it? Who can I ask for help? So turning the fears into powerful questions. And how do you know? Where do you get the wisdom to know the difference? So that's where these next bullet points, like, well, what's the true, let's say it's a fear. What's the risk? What's the probability of it happening? And is it something that's predictable or is it something that's unpredictable? If it's unpredictable, you don't want to hang on to it and worry about it consistently. And then what's the impact? If the probability is high and the impact is high, then you definitely want to have the courage to make a backup plan or change your actions or do something about it. Any questions on this part?
I don't have questions. I might just simply add to it.
Thank you.
I took a class, and it's escaping me now whose class it was because I've taken so many. But one thing that I always remember is when there is an issue that creates that fear or puts you in that place of anxiety, pretend like you're on a bicycle and lean into the turn as opposed to leaning away from it. That's kind of my trigger point to be able to go, oh, okay, this is uncomfortable. Rather than stepping back, lean into it. And like you say, go through these kind of questions, either breathing or whatever it might be, but just to lean into it.
I love that. I was, you know, like I said earlier, I was hanging out with my friends in the Bay Area last night, safely 6 feet apart, of course. And their daughter and I were, I was playing guitar and singing, and she was playing piano and singing, and she was shy and really quiet, and trying to harmonize with me. And she has a better voice than me. And I just said, you know, just go for it. Like you said, lean into it, go for it. Even if you're uncomfortable or afraid, just go for it, like play full out. And it was amazing. If you guys want, I'll send you a recording. It was really
Oh, that'd be awesome.
yeah, just an example of, you know, like step into your power. It's not time, you know, like I said, honor your feelings. You know, this, whatever happened really sucked. This is my reaction. These are my feelings. You know, go through the storm of your feelings, feel them, honor them, but don't carry them around like baggage. And then step into your power. You know, turn your concern or fear upside down into a powerful question. So yeah, thank you, Corinne. I really love that.
Hey, Jim, I have something to say too, if I can take
Great.
a moment. I'd like to just use myself as an example. I'm looking at this list that you have, and I've recently gone through that whole list with wanting to move out of a job I've had that I have hated for a number of years. I can't leave it completely because of finances, but I had fear and risk to make a change. You know, how could I, you know, what is it that I could do? You know, what kind of courage do I have to change things that I can? And so I realized that, yeah, the question is, do I continue being unhappy with what I'm at, where I'm at, and can I find something that's more of a passion for me?
Yeah.
So certainly a risk with it. You know, what's the probability of it working out or not working out? How predictable is that? What's the impact going to be? A lot of it's unknown, but just saying, okay, I'm going to give this a shot and go out and
Absolutely.
try it. So anyway,
Yeah, thank you. And
yeah,
I love like losing weight or getting in shape example. So many of us want something, but then
right.
we're not doing what it takes to to get there. And it's not like rocket science, right? We know what to
Yeah.
do. All right, so let's excuse me, let's roll on to the next slide. Um, so thank you for these questions. I'm not going to go into goal setting. I have a whole hour presentation on that, and I'll provide a free webinar for you guys. The other thing that you can do on setting goals, if you want, if that's really a thing for you, and it's the very important first step, but I just have other things I want to cover today. So how to set goals and stick to them. You can go to peakbusinesscoaching.com, and under articles, just search for SMART goals. And there's a whole article there on that. Many of us know this SMART acronym: specific, S is specific, M measurable, A achievable, R realistic, and T timely. What I like to do is, like if you want to lose 10 pounds, you want it to be timely, meaning I want to lose 10 pounds in 2 months or whatever's, a stretch goal. So that goes into measurable. And then the T, I like it to stand for thrilling. So why the heck, why are you guys in this group coaching? Why are we courageous, amazing entrepreneurs? Well, it's because we set stretch goals and we go for it. And it's exciting and it's scary. So you want your goals to be meaningful. You want them to be a bit of a stretch. You want to, in your gut or in your heart, you want to know it's possible, but you don't have to know exactly how when you set the goal. So that's how I'm going to answer that first question. And I encourage all of you to set goals. If you want, email me your goals and I'll give you feedback. I might say, oh, you don't have a time deadline on here, or it's not really measurable. Like I want to spend more time with my family is a great goal that I get from people, but how do you know how much time? Is it an hour every evening that you spend with your kid doing homework? So the specifics and measurability is really important, and having it time-based, by when. And then how and when do you follow your passion? And Ken sent in this question. Thank you for this. I had a mentor for 15 years, and oftentimes she asked, what's your fastest path to cash? And we need money. We need money to pay bills. And so that's a powerful question. But what I've learned, and I disagree with that question or that philosophy, if you want to look at it that way, because to be a successful entrepreneur takes creative, courageous persistence. We got to stick through it. We got to get through the tough times. And there's going to be tough times, whether we have a job or we're a business person. But I just find being an entrepreneur really takes something. And I'm impressed with all of us for taking this path. And, just like, the Los Angeles analogy of, you got to be a waiter to be an actor, right? And yeah, there are times where you got to do what you got to do to pay the bills and take steps. But to answer your question, Ken, and if other people are wondering about this, I think we should all be passionate about our business. We should come from the heart. We should solve big problems. We should make a difference in people's lives, take them from here to there, and help them with their dreams, their desires, their goals. So having the end be the passion and it's okay. I've had clients that were starting a business, didn't have funds to really market, and were frustrated, and they got a part-time job, which helped them fund getting a part-time admin, doing some marketing, and that helped them get over that energy of activation, or the hump that brought them to success. Does that answer your question, Ken?
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Great.
that's a good answer, because especially the following your heart. I haven't done that for quite a while.
I'm so happy you're here
Yeah, me
and you're
too.
on that path. And then how to get unstuck or unfrustrated. I think the Serenity prayer covered a lot of that.
Mhm.
And I'm going to add more to it. When I've been stuck or frustrated, a lot of times it was because I had expectations. And they might have been reasonable expectations. They might have been unreasonable. They might have been pie in the sky. They might have been, low hanging fruit, but I didn't meet my expectations. And so I would feel sorry for myself. I would be a victim. I'd blame other people temporarily. And when I caught myself doing that, I realized I was not in my power. And I look at emotions as there's a neutral line where you're like, eh. And neutral is a heck of a lot better than angry. So there's a whole spectrum of emotions. So below the line, apathy is like one of the worst. Well, there's like suicide or not caring at the way bottom. And actually angry, frustrated are actually higher than apathy. And then you get to like above the line would be maybe a mild grin all the way up to ecstasy. So when I'm below the line, I look at what am I doing? What did I do to create this? And if I didn't do something to create this, what can I do to change my mood? What can I do to change my vibration or my energy? And how can I do things differently? And when I look at myself objectively, I'm not judging or criticizing myself, but I'm saying what I did, where I'm at right now is not where I want to be. So I'm going to have to think and do things differently. So let go of the expectation. You might reach that expectation, but it's just not now. Maybe it's later than you expected. So let go of the expectation and then say, like I might be doing some marketing and my ego gets in the way. Like I've done mail campaigns that failed, and they were brilliant. Like I had my target market defined. I had their pain point. I had their pleasure, what they wanted, a clear call to action, an irresistible giveaway. I used a database to really target demographically, and did it for 5 months in a row, and I got one response. And it cost me a lot of money and a lot of time, and I'm supposed to be this great coach and marketing guy. So yeah, I was frustrated, but until I looked at it like, okay, how can I look at this objectively, or who could I run this by, that can give me an objective opinion? What can I improve? Or should I even keep doing this? If I'm banging my head against the wall, spending money and not getting results, we need to track our marketing and say, well, I did a newspaper ad for, I think, 9 months. And I did different headlines, I different images, different messages, and really creative, hired professional photographer. And I think I got one client that lasted a month. So that was not a good marketing tactic. So to get unstuck or unfrustrated, I think we have to, say our ego is not our amigo, and let go of damn it, I deserve results kind of thing. And then again, like, be humble, step into our power.
Jim,
So those are great.
can I
Yeah,
possibly add something to that? And in fact, I'm going to back up just a little bit because I was on your Zoom last week, but I don't think I got to meet Ken, and I didn't meet Simone. So hi, I'm Corinne.
Hi. Hi.
I think I would just interject with, in that getting unstuck, um, how to work with that. Obviously, my background is accounting. That's what pays the bills. But life coaching and doing energy work is a secondary for me, and that's my passion. And one of the things I've recently been doing, because of where we all are right now and getting stuck, and that is just taking 5 to 10 minutes a day, no more than that, and just envisioning, like Ken, you were saying, what your passion is, how you want to see that end result. And the key that I have found that has triggered for me is, not only do we envision it, but then we allow ourselves to step into it, like you're saying, Jim, and to actually feel what that feels like. I'm really sorry, I have a dog in the background chirping. But just feel what that feeling is like. And that creates a little bit of momentum to go, that's what my goal is. That's how I move forward in that, and how cool that feeling is. And then usually the universe will support us in some supportive way.
Beautiful. Thank you,
Yeah,
Corinne.
nice.
And I want to welcome Jacob and River. River, you are an incredible friend and coach. I'm wondering if you have anything to add on this topic.
And you've talked about many different things, and so what topic? Which one in particular? SMART goals, or
really around helping people when they're in a tough situation or frustrated or stuck. What are some tips to get people into action moving forward?
Good question, and I like everything that everybody said. I would, and thank you for asking my opinion, and thank you for doing this. So I feel like I have somebody on my back when I'm out here as a solo entrepreneur. And so what I do when somebody is feeling stuck is, one is to provide perspective, right? So we're always looking at what it is, where, like what we haven't done. That's all. We're always focused on our to-do list and all the things that we're supposed to do, and we don't really look at where we are at. And so really having some gratitude and showing some perspective of where we're at, I think, is a really good one, first off. And then the other is getting some clarity on what it is would be that, where you really want to go. And then from there asking, like, what is the next step? So like,
Yeah.
what is your next step? It can be a small step, but it's also important to be asking that question from a higher vibrational place. So in other words, not this place like you were talking about, emotions that are like below the line, where you're feeling fear or self-doubt, or you're really highly critical of yourself, you're thinking you can't do it, you're not good enough, to actually be more in the place where you feel more expansive and what's possible. So there's just like a few things to do to kind of get to that place.
That is so awesome. Really clarifying where you want to go. I love that powerful question. What is the next step? And if it's, if you have this big looming goal, or, like eating an elephant, take a bite, just get started, right?
I know. I really want to come up with something different than that, because as I work a lot in the neuroscience part of it, and so it's like your brain freaks out. It's like we are more linear, so like we like linear, we can figure things out linear. And I don't know if you guys ever, I'm going to sidetrack here, sorry. Have you ever heard of read the Martian book? I know it was a movie, but the book was so much better. But the guy, read the book, because the guy was so amazing at problem solving. because he was like, oh my God, talk about an elephant, right? He's on Mars and he has no idea how he's even going to get back. And his brain would just like totally freak out if he thought about the big problem, right? Or how am I going to do this? And so what he did is like, I can't really deal with any of that, but I can deal with this next thing that's in front of me.
Right. And having the wisdom to know the difference. Like, I can't tackle this beast now, but I can do this.
Yeah, and that's what we do, and that's what I really help a lot of my clients with, is really like, okay, you're trying to solve like 5 million problems and your brain just goes into overwhelm. And rather, let's just solve what is this next step.
Yeah, thank you. And what's really important, what you said, is changing your vibration before deciding what to do and before to take action. Yesterday, somebody pissed me off and I started an email. I know we all do this. And I'm like, holy crap, if I send this email, it's going to create so much more work, or it's going to ruin the relationship. So I deleted it all. I went from my head to my heart and I said, how can I serve this person? And it worked out wonderfully.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that to the table. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to say one other thing. The one thing that really helps me, I like this prioritization thing. The one thing that really helps me, and I know it helps a lot of people, is when I have so many things going off on my head, is I write it down.
Yes,
That
exactly.
idea that you're saying writing things down creates, it's like write it down, write it down, write it down. Get it out of your head. It's way bigger in your head than when you get it on the paper. You can see connections. I do mind maps. I just throw it all down and then I link things up after that.
Totally. And I'm going to add, well, just from personal experience, and hopefully this relates to you guys. Thank you so much, River.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have like 5 to-do lists that are full pages of action items. But what I do on a daily basis, I take one little sticky note and I only write down 3 things. So that really helps me. Like, look at the big picture, look at the long term, and then, what's in my radar today. Welcome, Stacy.
Hi there. So sorry, I lost track of time and I actually thought this was at 11. So
No problem. I'm glad you're here. And this is being recorded, so you'll be able to see the first part, which was amazing.
very good.
It
I'm
was
sorry
good.
I missed it.
It was good.
Okay.
So the last thing I want to talk about today is prioritization, and we talked about all the things that we could possibly think of to do. I'm sure all of us have way too many things that we could possibly do in the next day, week, month, or even year. And the Stephen Covey prioritization matrix, which isn't visualized here, that's a different model in the box, but it's importance and urgency. So on the x-axis, importance, and the y-axis, urgency. And for many years, for decades, that was how people prioritized. And I challenged that. It's good. If something's important and something's urgent, then you should do it right away. But my challenge to that is I've seen people use that and be really busy and not move forward as much as they can. And what's missing? What's the third dimension? Well, my third dimension that I add is significance. And what is significance? So something that's important, something that's urgent, like, I might have a client scheduled. And that's urgent, it's scheduled, and I need to do that right away. It's important. And that's great. There are other things, like I remember in the job world, the boss comes in and says, we need this done right away. And you have all this other stuff on your list. As entrepreneurs, we get to choose. But I think you guys get the importance and urgency. So if you're not doing that, do that as a minimum. But I encourage you to spend some time, whether it's an hour or 2 hours a week or an hour a day, on significant items. And so a little baby significant item that I love to use in as example is in emails. So there's delete, and then there's unsubscribe. So unsubscribe takes care of it. And maybe that's a little thing, but it takes a little bit longer to unsubscribe. And you kind of have to think about it. Do I really want to unsubscribe? But it takes care of it for good. And so the idea in significant things is it takes care of a problem for good, or it moves you forward, or it's leveraged. So a macro example is a boss or a business owner that is so busy that they don't have time to hire someone. Now they're going to be stuck. They're going to be, because we all only have so much time and so much energy. So if you don't have time to hire someone, if you don't have time to come up with a good job description, a good ad, interview questions, market the crap out of the opportunity so you get the amazing people. Another example is training your people and setting them up for success. I hear business owners say, I just don't have time. They're going to have to figure it out. But if you step back and you look at it like, if I spend a couple hours, if I just make it happen, and when we choose something and we prioritize something, we can make it happen. As human beings, we can do this. It's the excuses and reasons that get in our way. But most employee tasks, if it's a repetitive task and you train it on them, you can spend 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, and you're going to get hundreds of hours back in exchange. So hiring people, training people, putting together great marketing materials that can be used over again. Or if you don't have a website, putting together a website. Those are all leveraged activities and what I call strategic or significant. So please do yourselves a favor and do things that will move you forward. There's the busy, being on the hamster wheel, and then there's getting the hamster wheel off the little holders and having it roll forward. And this prioritization matrix I have, you want to look at return on investment. So how much time, energy, and or money is it going to take? So that's on the bottom axis here, cost or effort. And then on this axis is the benefit or the value. So it could be time that you get back. It could be energy. Oh, that's interesting. How do we get a line on there? Do you guys see the lines being drawn on there?
Yeah. You might have somebody Zoom bombing you. Go to your participants. All
right.
Is there anyone on here that isn't supposed to be there?
Let me see. It's Jacob. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay, yeah. So get him.
Jacob, feel free to really point out the things of significant value. That's a cool tool.
He discovered the pen feature.
Don't you love technology? Anyway, so you want to look at when you're looking at your to-do list, I wouldn't choose something based on low cost effort, but really what's the return on investment? So
okay, wait, Jim, can you actually remove Jacob? Go to participants and remove him?
No, he's in the coaching program.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jacob, I was just kidding about highlighting the things I'm talking about because
okay.
So I appreciate it, but it's distracting.
I have a question.
Hmm.
So when you say this, using this prioritization model or matrix, I'm curious because, this benefit value or the cost effort, there's a time associated with that, right? Like,
Correct.
say for example, so how do I evaluate that? Like, what if I'm, looking for clients, well, calling people, right? That's like one thing, spend time on the phone, reach out, blah, blah, blah. But how do you evaluate that within here as a benefit value and cost effort?
So on the cost effort, I put time, energy, and money.
In the
And there's
cost,
not always a linear formula to return on investment, but
uh-huh,
it's easy. Like, let's say somebody else is doing some marketing for you. Like I talked about that newspaper ad that I did. It was $200 a month, and from what I would want and what I encourage people to look for in marketing for return on investment or ROI is at least 300%, and more often like 500%, 1,000%. So I would want to get, if I spent $200 a month on an ad, I'd want to get $1,000 worth of business, because I have fixed costs, I have variable costs, and I need to be profitable. So that's a monetary example. And I think what these aren't like specific tools, but they're really important to keep in mind, because and what happens psychologically with myself and other entrepreneurs that I've coached is, as human beings, we're very tempted to do what we're comfortable with. So I find myself checking my emails way too often during the day rather than going to new things, scary things that are going to move me forward. So I often, one thing that would be nice to have here is benefit value on one axis and then scariness on the other axis. So if something's new or something's been on your list for a long time, it's something you need to do, but you're afraid of it, or you've never done it before, or you're worried what people will think. My encouragement is to do something scary that gets you out of your comfort zone every day. So I know I didn't answer your question direct. I did with one monetary example, but I'm giving the philosophy behind prioritization, because a lot of us, like with diet or weight loss or exercise, we know what to do and we're not doing it. So sometimes these tools will jog us, but honestly, that's the thing that has held me back. And I want to really do a shout out for Simone, because we as a team hold each other accountable for 2 hours a week, 1 hour on Monday and 1 hour on Friday. We actually schedule strategic time to work on, like, I'm always helping other people with their business, helping them with their marketing, with their web design, with their SEO, coaching them. Well, I need to work on my business and create products and write my books. And so Corinne has been instrumental, and that was a great suggestion from her, I asked for help. I'm like, I'm helping all these people, but I'm not getting my own stuff done. And she's like, well, I'm feeling the same way. Let's hold each other accountable. So you guys are welcome to, use that. It's hard to do this stuff alone. Any other questions on any of this? I'm gonna.
Can I just jump in before you go ahead?
Yeah.
So I want to thank you too, because I just want everyone to know I'm in the process of starting a business, and before doing that accountability hours with Jim, I bought all the domains, everything, and sat on my business for over a year. So just being accountable has made a huge difference. So thank you to Jim as well. And something that I have hanging on my wall is life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. And I truly believe that, like, as long as we're in our bubble, it's comfortable, it's easy. It's the hard things that make life worthwhile. So thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. Thanks, Simone. All right, so the presentation portion is over, and now it's time for laser coaching. Ask any question you like. Could be relevant to the presentation or anything you want. Ideas can come from where you're stuck, where you might need help prioritizing, or maybe brainstorming.
If I could just add a little bit to that prioritization matrix that you had. I think it's also important to know too, and to recognize what, can you bring that screen back up again real quickly, Jim?
Hold on, I have to share my screen.
Oh, sorry about that.
No worries.
So, because I think for me right now, like I'm spending a fair amount of time in that quadrant number 4 down there, right? And so you would think, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing all of that. But because I'm doing, for people who don't know, I have a sign business. I'm doing yard signs for graduates and for some middle schools. And so I'm putting a whole lot of time and effort into that. And the monetary value of that is not so big. However, on the flip side of that, I have a whole group of new contacts that I wouldn't have had otherwise if I weren't doing this. And so there's certainly potential for some much longer term value and growth in that effort. And it's going to be a short-term effort while we get through this kind of end of school season and stuff. But I think there is a lot of potential to be gained in the longer run from that effort that I'm putting in right now.
Yes, thank you so much, because it's not about the initial monetization. If you're looking at return on investment, Stacy, you have a relatively new business and you're spending a lot of money, a lot of time on online marketing, offline marketing, networking with BNI. You're going out to other chapters. You're just like really playing full out, and you're getting these little jobs. But I'm so glad you brought that up, because there's two things. You're helping people, you're building goodwill, you do an amazing job. And the number one marketing tool is doing a fantastic job communicating with people, treating with respect and love and excellent products. No matter what happens with technology or online marketing, that's going to be the number one marketing tool. So we want to think of, what's the value of serving somebody and having a 5-star review that later turns into your website being ranked better, or them talking to another neighbor that happens to own a business or open, maybe, we don't know what's going to happen. One of these parents that has a high school kid that the high school kids are going through really tough emotional times. There's a big loss of social connection, and they lose the special celebration of their graduation. This is very meaningful that you're making a difference for them. And one of these parents might know somebody that owns a bunch of businesses, and I think just keeping that in mind helps us with the daily grind and doing the right thing. So that's a really beautiful point. Thank you.
Yeah, Stacy, one of the things I was just thinking about as you talked about that, you're doing it not for marketing and networking, but that's certainly a side benefit of what you're doing. I mean, it's a feel-good thing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I have a graduating senior this year, so
well, now the truth comes out.
it's very emotional for me too. So that was what was really the driver for me. But it definitely does have some of those other benefits and things. I mean, it's personally fulfilling to know that I'm helping to make a difference for them right now.
That's awesome.
I can't talk about graduation without crying.
Well, you're making a difference for a lot of parents and for a lot of kids. And I want to add in to emphasize, the courage thing. Who is it? Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book. He has some amazing challenges that scared the crap out of me. And he was one of the foundational people that encouraged me to do crazy things, to get out of my comfort zone. And Stacy, you did that. You reached out to the high school administrators. You just go for it. So I really commend you on that. And I think we should all support each other on that. Yeah. Woo. All right. What's the next question?
I have a suggestion or anyway, I'll just say it. Can't think of the word. So my friend does a thing called awaywithchaos.com. She's a professional organizer, and she does every Friday. She has a Zoom where you come and work on whatever you're working on for your business.
Mm.
So it's great. So you go and you check in, and when you check in, you don't, it's not like a regular Zoom, like when you check in and somebody does a presentation. So she will check in with you privately, so not to disturb the group, right, on working on their thing, whatever they're working on. So you go to the Zoom, she'll check in with you privately, and then you hold yourself accountable for that 3 hours of what you're going to work on. So It's a blocked off time on Friday morning. And I find it very, very helpful to protect my time and actually work on something and have, once you say it, that's one of the big motivations, is like once you tell somebody else that you're going to do something, that you normally will do it. Like that's a really huge motive. I mean, that's why people get things done with a coach. And so I just wanted to put that out there. You can register for it. I put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good to have structures like that. And
Totally.
I plan on taking ideas like that and incorporating them into this group as well. And it's great for people to have choices. So thank you for that. And you brought up another point. We talked about goals. We talked about writing them down. There's like a simple goal statement, but then there's also like crystallizing it. And in a future coaching, I'll go into how to do that. But for now, the thing that you reminded me of is to write down your goal. And Ken did this recently. He has a specific goal, a financial goal that he wants to hit by a certain time. And then he posted it on his bathroom mirror. So every time he brushes his teeth or whatever, he's going to look at that goal. So have it in a prominent place. That really works. Just keeping it front of mind. And speaking of goals, what are some areas in your business where you need to do something, but you haven't been doing it? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh my gosh, getting certified as a woman-owned business.
Okay.
Definitely need to tackle that one.
So
all right. Well, how can we support you with that, Stacy?
It's been interesting. I think with everything that's happened with all of this COVID and the shutdown, I had a lot of things that were just kind of hanging out there relate to me getting to, and this has really kind of forced me to really get some of those things knocked off my list. So I'm working my way down there. That one is now kind of bubbling up to the priority of like, we've got to get this done to be moving ahead. So I've got, I still have some things I need to wrap up with, like the EIDL, and hopefully get some additional funding. As soon as that's done, I'm going to be moving on to this next item of getting the certification. And also, Jim, I know you've been waiting for me to get the promo items kicked off, but those are kind of right now my top three, I would say.
Okay, well, let's take the certified woman-owned business, and I think River mentioned the Women's Business Center in the chat. So that might be helpful. Would it be helpful to break this down into steps for you, or have an accountability partner, or what would support you to, and when do you want to get it done by?
Oh, Lord. 6 months ago, at least. You know what? I think I need to take a little time to kind of set that new target and figure out what's really realistic for me. And I'm kind of caught up in that little spin right now of reacting to stuff to keep things moving ahead. So I've got to be able to sit down and plan some time. So I suppose in terms of help, the accountability partner would help to just be able to say, okay, let's designate some time. Let's just jot out what these priorities need to be and come up with some timelines.
Can I coach you a little bit on this?
Mm-hmm.
And you obviously can do whatever you like, but I just think it's a great example, because as human beings, we want to think about stuff, and we have all this busy stuff in our life that's stopping us from doing the significant thing, the third dimension. And an example I'll use is, like, I might want to get in racing shape. I'm a long distance runner. I'm passionate about it. I love it. So I'll say, yeah, I want to do an Ironman, or I want to do a half Ironman, or I want to do a 10K. And so I have, I want to do this, but I don't. What happens when you just pick a date is it actually gets done. And you're going to be busy if you stop and think about it. You're going to be busy a month from now, and it won't have really developed as much as it could have. But when you draw a line in the sand and you write it down, put it on your mirror. And I'm not saying this to stress you out, because it really, once you do this, the counterintuitive part is it doesn't stress you out more, but you make the time to make it happen.
Okay.
So
I don't know what's realistic for a deadline, but I'm going to put 6:30 out there then, because that's really right around the corner. So it'll force me to start moving
that's
on it.
fantastic. So now you have a deadline, 6/30/2020, and you're writing this down. Oh, you're muted.
I'm putting it on my calendar right now.
Okay, fantastic. And who would you want to choose as an accountability partner to tell?
Who wants to be my accountability partner? I'll take volunteers.
Stacy, I could work with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Corinne.
I actually have a couple of clients that I'm actually doing exactly that with right now, which is kind of interesting.
Great. I love it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Phil, do you guys have each other's contact information?
Of course not.
Well, why don't you share it on the chat?
Okay. Of course, I have to learn how to do that. Just a minute.
I'm going to stop the screen share.
Oh.
And if you roll your mouse down to the bottom, Corinne.
Yeah, I had it. And
click on chat.
I lost
and
it.
Then you can private message
Oh, I see it.
Stacy by selecting her.
Oh, wait.